and thank you for being here at the 13th Annual Human Trafficking Awareness Summit. Human trafficking is an issue that impacts the safety and well-being of millions of people around the world, including here in Ohio. But for far too long, this issue has gone unnoticed. While we have been making tremendous progress legislatively since I began working on this issue in Ohio nearly 2 decades ago, it is beyond time for our state to reimagine its definition of justice and evolve its approach to better protect and rescue all who have been impacted by human trafficking. We have come a long way in the fight to end human trafficking in Ohio, but there is still more to do to support survivors, including ensure that they have access to housing, social services, and thank you for being here. Unfortunately, in 2021, Ohio ranked 5th in the nation of reported human trafficking cases, and in 2020, we charged the second highest number of human trafficking defendants in the nation. These are statistics that we need to change. During today's event, you will have the opportunity to learn from advocates, activists, and most importantly, survivors of this horrendous crime. Their stories will help you understand the complexities of human trafficking and understand the broad scope of socioeconomic, and health impacts that this issue can have on victims and others in their lives. Throughout the event today, take notes, ask questions, and take advantage of this unique opportunity to learn from others. My hope is that you will take this knowledge back to your workplaces, your classrooms, your families, and neighbors to raise awareness to make a difference in your own communities. It's because of people like you that we have been able to make so much progress in the fight to uplift survivors and protect others from becoming victims in the first place. No effort is too small or insignificant in the fight to end human trafficking once and for all. It takes vigilance and commitment from all of us, from nurses and doctors, social workers and activists, lawmakers to law enforcement, educators to students, and everyone in between, each advocating for change and making a difference in whatever capacity we can. While I wish we could gather together in person as we have in the past, I'm grateful that holding this event virtually allows us to reach more people throughout Ohio, the United States, and beyond. I'd now like to introduce to you my co-hosts for today's event, Senator Stephanie Kunze and Representatives Tavia Galonski and Tracy Richardson.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending the 13th Annual Human Trafficking Awareness Summit. I am so proud to be co-hosting this event with my colleagues and would like to thank Senator Fedor for her tireless efforts organizing this important Awareness Day year after year. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing criminal industries in the world and has been reported in all 50 states. Based on data from 2020, Ohio ranked 4th in the nation for calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline with 1,087 contacts. The number of calls to the hotline from Ohio has gradually decreased over the last 5 years, but there are still hundreds of cases reported every year. The prevalence of human trafficking in Ohio is only part of the problem. We must also do more to protect at-risk individuals and support survivors of human trafficking throughout the recovery process. Throughout my time in the legislature, I have had the opportunity to introduce multiple pieces of legislation aimed at addressing human trafficking and providing support to survivors in Ohio. This week, Representative Richardson and I had the opportunity to provide sponsored testimony to the House Criminal Justice Committee on House Bill 319, the Expanding Human Trafficking Justice Act. Senators Fedor and Kunze are the joint sponsors of a companion bill in the Senate. This legislation expands the eligibility for expungement for survivors of human trafficking who committed crimes as a result of being trafficked. Under current law, many human trafficking survivors face obstacles to housing, family reunification, employment, and other aspects of day-to-day life because of the stigma that comes with a criminal record. House Bill 319 gives human trafficking survivors the second chance they rightfully deserve. While Ohio has made significant progress in our fight against human trafficking, we still have much more work to do. As you attend the breakout sessions today, you will hear from survivors, advocates, and activists, all of whom offer invaluable perspectives on human trafficking and its far-reaching impacts. I encourage you to ask questions, take notes, and use what you learn to educate others in your communities. It's up to all of us to eradicate human trafficking in Ohio. Thank you.
Good morning, and welcome to the 13th Annual Human Trafficking Summit. I am honored to host this day alongside Senator Fedor, Representative Galonski, and Representative Richardson to gather advocates from across the country with one mission: to end human trafficking. A quote from Marianne Williamson that I used to share with my own daughters is something that speaks to my heart on this day. It starts, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." That quote really embodies what you are here advocating for, both as survivors, advocates, volunteers, and all of you who work tirelessly to end human trafficking. Thank you for sharing and shining your light in dark places as we work to end human trafficking everywhere. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Richardson, and I serve as state representative for Union and Marion counties here in Ohio. I am honored to be welcoming you today, and I'm excited to be an active member of this year's Human Trafficking Summit. As a leader in Ohio, it is a priority for me to be part of stopping the victimization of human beings who are being trafficked throughout our state, and to be an advocate for survivors of human trafficking. Honestly, like many Ohioans, I knew very little about human trafficking when I initially became a state representative. After meeting individuals like Senators Fedor and Kunze, Representative Galonski, and other dedicated stakeholders, I quickly decided that I wanted to unite with them and to be part of finding a solution to human trafficking. Awareness and education are essential to stopping the crimes committed against humanity through human trafficking. This is why I sponsored legislation to create a Human Trafficking Awareness Day here in Ohio. My wish is that this endeavor will be a catalyst for informing, uniting, and transforming Ohio. Thank you to all for caring enough to learn, engage, and unite against human trafficking in this summit. My hope is that perhaps your commitment today will be life-changing. Welcome to the summit, and thank you for being.
I'm so grateful you all chose to spend your Friday with us to listen and learn from our experts and survivors. Throughout our lives, we have heard that prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. No, it is the oldest oppression in the world, and I strongly believe it is the human rights issue of our lifetime. Similar to other human rights issues, sadly, we have lost some beautiful souls. I would like to take a moment of silence now to honor their memory, especially Courtney Kinkoff, who recently passed. Thank you. I would now like to introduce my close friend and colleague, Senator Craig, who will share a convocation. I'm so grateful you all chose to spend your
The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of the Lord abides forever. God, this is the day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad. God, thank you for your provision and your protection. God, we pray today for the long-standing and the long-serving devotion and commitment and vision of Senator Teresa Fedor and Representative Galonski, who has worked closely in partnership with Senator Fedor. Also, Representative Richardson and Senator Kunze, who are hosting today's event, as well as other legislators who provide support to address this important issue. God, we pray today, especially for those affected, injured, and traumatized by the horrors of human trafficking. God, please give us your wisdom and direction. Guide our deliberation, strengthen our resolve to identify essential, appropriate resources to find effective prevention strategies, practices, and policies that eliminate this egregious, destructive, and deadly act. Continue to equip us, God, with life-affirming resources that are transformational and build ladders of opportunity for all those suffering from human trafficking. God, we pray for all assembled here today as we continue the important work of building and enhancing collaboration and advocacy that create lasting and sustainable impact and ameliorate the lives of so many experiencing the acute harm and destruction of human trafficking. Finally, God, when our work today has concluded and we leave this space, but never from your presence, please keep us all in your loving care. Amen.
Amen.
The grass withers and the flowers.
Next, we will hear from Senator Sherrod Brown, followed by a brief documentary. Sherrod Brown is a lifelong Ohioan who has spent his career fighting for the dignity of work. The idea that hard work should pay off for everyone, no matter who you are, where you live, or what kind of work you do. Next,
I'm Sherrod Brown. It's a privilege to serve in the United States Senate. Thanks to Senator Fedor for having me, for organizing this summit, for bringing together advocates from all over our state to do all the work that you do on human trafficking. We're grateful for your leadership on this issue. As all of you know, trafficking is all too real. It's happening in our own backyards. We know that about Toledo because of your location for a long time. Human trafficking happens every day to children, to teens, to adults. We've seen how traffickers especially prey on children in foster care and young people experiencing homelessness. We've seen how COVID-19 has accelerated many of these issues that were always there but have gotten worse. Human trafficking, housing disparities, homelessness, all of these issues are so intimately connected. That's why the work you do at this summit every year and throughout all of your work is so important. We've continued to make progress fighting human trafficking by building on your work in Congress. I'm working on this issue through my role as chair of the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. Our landmark anti-money laundering bill was signed into law last year. It will help us crack down on criminals and human traffickers, how they finance their crimes. In Ohio, we've seen how money launderers feel how they fuel human trafficking. We've passed my legislation to ensure young people aging out of foster care have access to housing. I'm working with Columbus Congresswoman Beatty on a bipartisan bill to improve housing and homeless services for trafficking survivors. We need to continue this bipartisan momentum to bring traffickers to justice, to uplift the voices of survivors, as well as confront issues like income inequality and homelessness that make people vulnerable to this awful crime in the first place. So keep up your activism, keep the pressure on Congress, keep it on state legislators, tell your stories. I've been to roundtables with trafficking survivors. No amount of data or statistics are as powerful as hearing you talk about your own heartbreaking stories. Survivors need to be heard so that others don't have to follow in those footsteps. So thank you for standing up. Thank you for the work you do. We will ensure that your voices continue to be heard. Thanks so much. I'm sure.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
My older sister was my father's favorite child. When my sister contracted diphtheria, a mortal disease, I was tied to her bed every day in the hope that I would get it. I was 9 months old when my sister died. My father told my mother that he wished I had died instead of my sister. It was from that moment on that I was hit regularly. I lost the will to live in the early years. By the time I was 9 years old, my parents had split up and my mother had a boyfriend much older. They would have some pretty awful parties. I would be picked up and put onto a table from which I had to sing to those drunks. I was doing a lot of the cooking and was a general slave around the house. I was fostered out to one family where the husband thought it was sad that I had been raped. And he said he thought he should show me exactly how I should have been loved. For 13 months, I was sexually abused. I blamed myself for everything that happened to me. What in hell was there worth living for?
We were a very chaotic family. Emotionally, I never felt like I was protected, loved, or valued as a child. I was told this, I did not remember this because I was 2 years old. I was given a black eye by my mom. I was a humorous child, you know. I could make anybody laugh, but inside, I was falling apart. The most in my childhood was fear. You know, you're supposed to go up to Uncle Charlie, give him a hug goodbye, but once he got a hold of you, he would hug you so close that you were like one person. And he would kiss, you know, French kiss your mouth and pat your breasts. Those long goodbyes were very disturbing because my parents were well aware and was right in the room when it would happen. But to survive, I needed to eat. And to survive, I knew if I went over there participating in what was going to happen to me, they would feed me at the end of the day.
I was born into a family that was rife with alcoholism, child abuse, domestic violence. My mother went out finding every dirt bag she could to date. One of these she eventually married, and he was the one that began to molest me. And he belonged to a pedophile ring that he took me to the pedophile ring, and they basically made me their property, and they trafficked me for 7 years. Either you're walked or dragged or carried, you're given drugs and alcohol, and then you're just shoved in the room. The person basically just does what they want. You begin to see your worth as a sex object, and that's how you're defined. You're made to feel you don't matter. You're basically brainwashed into thinking that you deserve it. I was told frequently that I was selfish. When I was being trafficked, my ribs were broken. You know, I was slapped, kicked, punched. I was actually molested by one of my teachers that I told. The people around me just didn't notice. I was labeled as melodramatic, accident prone, and attention seeking. But I was just desperate for somebody to love me and to make me feel like I mattered, you know, at least for a minute.
Ma mère, quand j'avais de 6 à 11 ans, ben, si, mettons, elle voulait nous punir, elle pouvait nous tirer par les cheveux pour nous rentrer dans la chambre. Puis si on tombait, elle continuait de nous tirer par les cheveux pour nous amener dans la chambre. Quand, mettons, on avait quelque chose de pas correct, ben, mettons, elle nous tapait, mais c'était pas juste 1 ou 2 tapes ses fesses, c'était vraiment comme, elle se défoulait jusqu'à temps qu'elle soit épuisée. Elle se déshabillait, puis là, elle voulait qu'on vienne voir les parties de son corps, puis ou elle nous obligeait à dormir avec, puis elle embarquait par-dessus nous, puis si on dormait pas avec, ben là, elle nous boudait. Elle racontait des choses qui n'étaient pas nécessairement vraies, tu sais, que mon père, mettons, il voulait nous tuer, ou des trucs comme ça, dans le fond, pour vraiment essayer de le discréditer à nos yeux. Avec les coups et tout ça, j'ai comme appris des réflexes. J'avais des réflexes de protection. Puis des fois, ça l'arrivait dans mes cours, mettons, un prof passait trop proche ou se grattait. Ben, j'avais le réflexe de me cacher le visage par peur d'être frappée. Quand j'avais 12-13 ans, on avait une travailleuse sociale qui venait tous les vendredis soirs voir à la maison comment ça se passait. Elle n'avait jamais rien vu. Je me suis refermée, puis je me suis dit que c'était mieux de pas parler que de parler, parce que sinon, mes parents étaient pour avoir des problèmes, puis tout, puis tu sais, t'aimes tellement tes parents, peu importe ce qu'ils font, que tu veux pas qu'il leur arrive quelque chose malgré tout. Je savais juste qu'il y avait une noirceur en dedans de moi, puis que je me sentais juste pas bien. J'avais l'impression de mourir de l'intérieur.
My whole life, I was treated like dirt. I was not listened to. I was not encouraged to speak out. I was constantly afraid. I was to carry that fear throughout my life.
I ran into a brick wall as a child every time I tried to speak out.
When you come to them and tell them that this happened and you're denied that validation, that's very, very upsetting because it's silencing you, making you keep that silence that you know needs to come out.
J'avais appris qu'on fait juste compter que sur soi-même pour se survivre. Faut juste pas lâcher. C'est sûr que c'est pas facile, hein?
Who was there to help me, to interrupt my life? Who could have seen the pain I was feeling? Would you?
Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to announce our panel of survivors speaking on the mental health impact of human trafficking. Moderating the session will be Barbara Freeman. Barbara is a survivor herself and is the founder of the Freeman Project House, which functions as a place survivors can use for the transition to living independently. I am grateful to the panel for their insights, and I will let them take it from here.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. Chelsea, are you on here?
Yes.
Okay, guess not. Okay, so I want to thank everyone
ma'am.
for being here this morning for the 13th year annual Human Trafficking Awareness Day. I want to thank everyone that will be participating today, sharing your stories, what you share, feel comfortable, about it. If you don't, don't feel pressured to share anything. I want to let you know that you are the most important person today, sharing your story. And if there are some things that, that you would like to propose a question, please let me know so that, we can put it out there and get that answered for you. Your story is very important. It's not taken lightly. I know what lies behind it, as I'm a human trafficking survivor myself for 23 years. And this is my 13th year participating in the Human Trafficking Awareness Day. We do aware all children, everyone on here, and to speak is to be heard. So just know that sharing your story can help impact and touch someone's life and help them get out. So I just want to let you know how important you are today. So I just want to start off by if I don't know if you want to go down the line, or it doesn't matter how you go, just introduce yourself a little bit, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into the questions. Good morning, Felicia.
Good morning. My name is Felicia, and I'm a human trafficking survivor. I am an advocate for women and children. Hello, Stephanie. I am a peer supporter, and I am honored to be here. I've survived so many things. I got 7 years clean. I'm just advocating that, thank you. Did you know this is not something that it should be pushed under the table, be ignored, because it gets younger, and it's not the women on the street with the dirty nails and dirty feet, no shoes on. It's the child that's right next door to you in the basement. Thank you for allowing me to share. I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anybody can just hop in.
Okay, hi. Robin, please.
No, go, please, go.
I'm Stephanie Rollins.
Morning, Stephanie.
I am a case manager at Salvation Army. I work with human trafficking survivors just like me. I'm honored to be able to share this with you all again this year. It's very important. I'm honored to be amongst these warrior queens and kings, and I just want to say thank you so much for having us. And I worked really hard to be here and where I'm at mentally today. So I look forward to hearing each and everybody's comments and how they've overcome everything, and to be able to teach the world how we got here. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Robin Lavassa.
Good morning, Ms. Robin.
Hi. So I am also a survivor of human trafficking, along with a multiple of other things that come along with that, like drug addiction, homelessness, sexual assault, all that good stuff. Today, God has turned my mess into a message. I know my calling. I'm passionate about what I do. I have been in the nonprofit area working with girls on the streets now for many years in many different multiple facets and organizations. I went back to college and I got a degree in social work and substance abuse. I've got multiple certifications in trafficking and all the areas that come along with that. I'm a recovery coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a speaker. I facilitate Rachel's Ending the Game and the Cool Auntie. My purpose in life now is to just save one little girl or one little boy from never having to go through any of the things that I went through in my life, and for us to be able to eradicate this, because people, like Stephanie said, it's right in your next, it could be your next door neighbor, and it is being locked in a basement, being chained somewhere. Some young girl going on the internet thinking she's getting a modeling job, and the next thing you know, they're shooting heroin in her arms and she's chained to a radiator. So my most passionate thing is bringing awareness to children. I love to go out to the high schools and the junior high schools and let them know, you know what I'm saying, what to look like, because them vulnerable populations that they prey on because they're wolves in sheep clothing. I don't want to talk forever, but this is my life. So I love giving back in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just very, very proud to be here. And I was tickled pink when they asked me to come back this year to speak. So, and it's nice to see you all.
It's nice to see you too. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good morning. I am just humbled and honored to be here amongst such incredible heroes and amazing advocates. I was honored to be here last year speaking, and I'm just incredibly honored again to be here this year. My name is Jerome Elam. I am the CEO and president of Trafficking America Task Force. I am a survivor of child sex trafficking from the age of 5 to the age of 12. I am a speaker, advocate, and I had the honor this past year of being appointed to the inaugural Organization for Security and Economic Cooperation's Office of Democratic Initiative Human Rights, International Survivors of Trafficking Advisory Council. And I've been just thrilled and honored to work in Uzbekistan, Ukraine, South Africa, Pakistan, and Australia, and countries around the world to help give survivors a voice. I'm also a special advisor to the Utah Attorney General and a Marine Corps veteran. And it took me 30 years to break my silence. And I know we're all here today to make sure that not one more victim or survivor suffers in silence ever again. So thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Nice to have you, Mr. Gilon.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Haley.
My name is Haley Young. I'm also a human trafficking survivor. I was sex trafficked as a child and adult by family members, and then by a massage parlor at 17. Last year, I graduated with my bachelor's in social work, and I'm working in child welfare now. And then I also do anti-human trafficking advocacy. So I've done some speaking and talked on some of the bills that Senator Fedor has been getting passed. And I'm really honored to be here and be with all of you today.
Thank you, Haley.
Good morning. My name is Tiana Wells. I am not a CEO yet of anything, but that is my dream one day. I am currently a student at OSU, a semester away from a bachelor's in nursing and psychology. My end goal is to get a specialty in psychiatric nursing because mental health is my passion. So long when you suffer in silence, like you lose your voice. And I feel like our voices are so, so powerful. So I want to help like women and children find those voices again. I am also a human trafficking survivor. A lot of these women on here have been so pivotal in the person that I am today. I also mentor at Grace Haven, which is a local human trafficking support for women and children under the age of, I think, 18. I have been with them for 2 years. I really enjoy it, but it does sadden me how it's right in our backyard. It saddens me that there isn't the same support for children that are male traffickers that there are for the females. And I just want to raise awareness. I believe that education is only a small piece of eradication. And I really am passionate about people moving past surviving and learning how to thrive. I'm really grateful to be here. And I'm honored to be in a room with people that have powerful stories.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Thank you.
Happy morning.
Morning, Harold.
Thank you, Barbara. But first and foremost, I would like to thank the simple living, high thinking Senator Teresa Fedor for empowering survivors to thrive. And here on this platform, it's a living example. I always believe that every survivor on this planet should thrive.
Yes.
So I am a survivor of labor trafficking and debt bondage in Ohio. And today my passion in life is to be the voice for the voiceless victims. So I have started an organization, non-profit, Eyes Open International, which is focused on prevention, education, protection, and empowerment of victims, survivors, vulnerable populations, and community members globally. America is the destination, but countries like Mexico, Guatemala, India, Pakistan, Nepal is the source. So I'm creating awareness in the source country and telling people do not enter America illegally. If you enter America illegally, it is hell. And if you enter America legally, it is heaven. So I'm passionate to open branches in 50 countries. So I always tell that every survivor has the ability, capability to be a CEO, a director, an attorney general, a lawyer, a doctor, or anything he or she desires. It does not mean that if he or she is a survivor means that's it, that he or she does not have any talent or treasure of wisdom. I don't believe in that. My trafficker once told me, Harold, it is in your fate, F-A-T-E, that you will remain a slave. But I do not believe in fate. I believe in faith, F-A-I-T-H. So in the end, I would just like to tell all the delegates who are watching today that whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. And in the end, there is a Bollywood biopic, silver screen movie coming up in India on me about my journey from India to the White House, and Martin Sheen is doing a documentary to be free. So thank you very much. God bless America. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Senator Teresa Fedor, for inviting me every year.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harold. Hi, everyone. My name is Holly Daniels. I am a survivor of child sex trafficking that carried on through adulthood, just kind of became a lifestyle. Currently, I am employed through Virtava Health of Ohio, and I've kind of made my whole life mission around a population that is just like me. My life's mission is to help those not have to go through what I went through. So I serve a population that struggle with substance use disorder and trying to break the barriers of those who have been victims of sex trafficking or sex work in general. So I work for Virtava Health of Ohio doing marketing, connecting people to treatment, other resources in the community. I created sober living recovery housing. I own and operate 5 of those here in the Central Ohio area. Also helped co-found and create a nonprofit organization called Reaching for the Shining Stars that goes out and does street outreach. We've been doing that for about 6 years now. We also do some education. Before the times of COVID, when we could get into schools and organizations and churches, but you know, the climate of the country has made it very difficult to get into places to educate on what sex trafficking looks like here and domestically, because it looks different here than it does in a lot of places. I don't know if you know, but like 96% of trafficking in the United States does not look like the movie Taken. I know a lot of people have a misconception that somebody's coming in a big white van with chloroform and robbing your kids in a Target parking lot, but that is not how it happens. And hopefully the people that are listening today will get some education on some of the different forms of how people are coerced and manipulated into trafficking here locally in the United States. Thank you, Holly. Thank you. Thanks everyone for their introductions. I want to open it up and just start asking some questions. And if there's something, like I said, if there's you know, something panelists that you would like to to share, just please add it into the question that I'm putting out there. My first question is, what would you say that most impacted your life being human trafficked?
What really impacted my life was going through the programs that that I never knew about. When I was accepted into catch court, being around women that had been through everything that I had been through made it like I wasn't all by myself. And then once Judge Herbert was going through what human trafficking was, it floored me, because I never in a million years thought that I had been human trafficked or manipulated. I thought it was my fault. I thought I was a prostitute. I thought I was a crack whore, just throughout all my life. And when it hit me, that I had been manipulated and deceived and lied to and coerced into 95% of my whole entire life, I totally, it was the game changer. Amethyst, Freedom a la carte, workforce development, after, all these different programs, absolutely significantly made the changes of me becoming a successful woman.
Thank you, Stephanie.
My name is Felicia. Barbara Freeman is the one who saved me. Well, God used Barbara Freeman to save me. I was trapped in a trap house, and Barbara came and saved me. She took me out the house and she took me to a treatment center, and she told me, from there, I got you. And from treatment center, I was rebelling in the beginning because I thought 2 weeks I was okay, but I went on and did what I need to do, and I went from Mary Haven to Amethyst, and I just took off. But I believe to this day, and I know in my heart, that if it wasn't for Barbara Freeman coming to get me, I would be dead right now. She came and she had cars lined up behind her. She came to save my life, because when I was out there, nobody wanted to be bothered with me. She was riding down the street, and she just gave me her card, and I begged some lady on some lady, and I asked her, could I please use her phone, because I need help, and I can't do this anymore. And I'm not gonna say that I burned all my bridges, but nobody wants to be bothered with a prostitute. And Barbara Freeman came and she picked me up, and from there she sheltered me, and then it's like a little baby in a nest, and she said, now you can fly. So that was the most phenomenal impact I had in my life, and knowing that I wasn't alone and that I am still a woman. Because I remember one time being in Barbara Freeman's car, and I said, I want to be a woman just like you. And she said, you're going to be one, and you are one today. So she was the most important, phenomenal woman to let me know that you're not alone. You're not a dog. You're not a rat. You're not what people say you are. You're a woman. Own it, name it, and that's who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. You did the work, though. Holly?
Could you repeat and clarify the question? Is it what impacted us during our trafficking or after?
And during. What
Okay.
impacted your life during?
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I just want to add to Felicia, you've definitely been a role model for more than one of us on this panel. You definitely paved the way, being the first catch court member to pave the way for all of us. You've definitely been a shining star and was a role model for me. I can clarify that.
Yes.
So what impacted me, there's been a few things that impacted me the most, and that I still struggle with today. I'm 7 years removed from the lifestyle. I can say I haven't had a drink, I haven't had a drug, and I haven't turned a trick in over 7 years. And I still struggle with intimate personal relationships, definitely romantic ones. I struggle with trust. I struggle with what's real and what's perceived in my head. I still can catastrophize things and create scenarios that will never happen, that's probably never going to happen, and make them real to me, because I will take somebody that's impeccable and trustworthy today in my life and make them everybody that's ever hurt me. And what that is from is because it is complex trauma. It is trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. I've endured it. I've been in survival mode since the moment I can remember. As early as 3 years old, I have like memories of like making my own bottle, being home alone, child sexual assault, rape, domestic violence. Like, this has been normal for me until I realized it wasn't normal. And my body and my mind have been in like shock, and some things were like suppressed and disassociated, and I walked on eggshells for a long time. Like, I was always in survival mode, on like high vigilance, and like it prepared for and groomed me for the lifestyle that I lived. It kind of like pushed me towards the streets and trafficking, but I still struggle with relationships. That is one of the hardest things I've ever maneuvered through in my life, in trusting people, even people that are impeccable with their word. And like a year, 2 years in, they've shown me that they're going to show up for me and be there and be a solid person in my life. And I still doubt them. I will still create a scenario that will probably never happen. And I will put the face on everybody that's ever hurt me, let me down, betrayed me, disappointed me, and used me. And I will put that face on them. So I'm really good about forgiving. I'm really good about letting things go. I'm really good about, like not living in the moment, like living in the trauma. Like I'm good about not attaching myself to the trauma anymore. But with personal relationships, I get triggered really easily. And it's been one of the hardest things because I'm still impacted by all the betrayal and the dirt that's been done to me still to this day.
Mhm. Thank you, Holly. Jerome?
Holly, God bless you. Right there with you. Been through the same things. I am here to support you. We're all here to support you. I want to let you know that one of the ways that I was able to finally come to terms with, those feelings. There's an amazing book that I'll post in the chat. It's called "Getting the Love You Want" by Harville Hendricks, and it tells you how your experiences growing up shape, how you view and shape your life and make choices. Because what I said about myself, because of what I went through, I was a chaos junkie. I would always choose relationships that were going to crash and burn, with the worst possible people for me. And, I spent 25 years in trauma therapy with someone trained by Masters and Johnson. And one of the things that I would ask, every week in that chair was, why am I here? And so many people that were trafficked alongside me didn't make it. And we came to the conclusion that there was one person in my life, a great aunt, who showed me unconditional love. And that became the tether that bound me to this life. So I was able to survive just because of her. So every single victim and survivor, my prayer, my hope for them is that they can look in the mirror and understand that they are worthy of love. They are worthy of unconditional love, and they matter always. And I want to secondly say that God was the biggest factor in my life, because I think a lot of us, who have been trafficked, we say, well, how could God let this to me? What I realized was that God was right there with me every single minute, going through every single ounce of pain that I did. And God was there, and he delivered me out of that life to be a voice for all those who are trapped in silence. So I just can't say that hope and love are the two most powerful weapons we have in this fight. And there's always hope inside us. And we need to turn it into a wildfire to spread around the world so that every victim and survivor can speak up and understand that they matter in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome.
You're my soul brother. I ask my trauma therapist quite often and other people in my recovery community why I've made it, and so many of other women and men just like me that's been through similar trials and tribulations don't make it or continue to cycle through addiction in this lifestyle. So I'm right there with you. I feel like it's almost like survivor guilt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we look at those that behind us who didn't survive, and I think we really just, our heart, we have the hole in our heart for them. And so I think that we honor their memory. Holly, especially you, oh my gosh, by the work you do, you are honoring the memory. All of us here working on honoring the memory of all those who aren't here today to share this event with us, and all those who are still suffering. We are honoring them. And I say that every single time we are here speaking out, we are screaming at the top of our lungs that those who tried to break our spirit could not, and that we are strong and powerful, and that we can do anything, and that we do matter, and that we are worthy of love.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerome. Anyone else want to share about the impact of their life while going through human trafficking?
Yeah, I would just like to share like three things which impacted me. That was number one was freedom, number two was starvation, and number three is life. Freedom is that something that I realized when I was going through my trafficking situation, that what is freedom. Till then I just took it for granted. And number two is starvation. One is when you're hungry, and the number two is when you're starving. Starving means when you don't have any food to eat, you might eat even from the trash can. So I started respecting food. And the last is life, because my trafficker hired a guy to kill me. But what happened in the process is that my fear of death went, because I realized that God has given everyone only 36,000 days of visa on this planet. That's 100 years. So I'm not going to live for 100 years. So I had a choice that whether I live or die. So I picked up to live. Whether to live in hurt or happiness, I picked up happiness. Whether to live in fear or freedom, I picked up freedom. And I think that's what I always tell people, that do not worry, be happy. It's a slow process, like you're running a marathon. So it's not about winning, but it is about finishing. So always tell that into all the survivors, victims, that to turn obstacles into opportunities. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I was gonna say, I think it had a huge impact on my mental health, of course, and then also like my belief system. I really had to, like, it changed the way I saw myself. It changed the way I saw the world, the way I saw other people. And like Holly said, it really affected my relationships with people. And I had to figure out who I was outside of my trauma, because I was so used to being what everyone else wanted me to be and told me to be. And I really kind of like lost my identity and all of that, and had to figure out who I was outside of that, and change that belief system. And I think that like trauma therapy helped a lot with that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to share?
I would.
Okay.
So, my biggest thing was, I've been out of the life for 15 years. I still have dreams, and my trafficker is dead, and I still have dreams of him. And my dreams are so real. I can smell his breath. I can feel. I see his arm, and he's trying to choke me and telling me he wants me dead. But when I was going through trafficking, I didn't even know it was called trafficking. There were no resources. There were no agencies. It was just a pimp in a hoe. I took all this on myself and blamed myself because I fell in love with a devil, with a wolf in sheep's clothing, who was a pimp, but I thought I was in college, and I came from a great family, full of love, full of, my parents raised us wonderfully, true family. My father wasn't my natural father, but he raised me as his daughter. Except they were very strict. So I got to college, it was just like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And I was looking for love. And so for many years, even after he was dead, like I still have a therapist and a psychiatrist, but it took me so many years because I had to find who I was again, which I am a child of God. And my faith was a big catalyst in changing my life, but it was also realizing that I didn't ask for this. It wasn't right what was done for me. I was tricked. I was manipulated, and I didn't deserve to take all that on. And I learned to I go on retreats with Teresa. I don't know if you guys know her, and I learned in one of the activities we did that I had to go back and forgive my younger self for what I allowed to happen. But you know what I mean? And today, my life is absolutely amazing. I am so whole that the things I've been through, things that would have killed others, and I feel like my life is a power of hope to let people know out there that we do recover, we do thrive, and that we are somebody, but my biggest hurdle was that I internalized it all as well, I deserve that. I shouldn't have fell in love with this guy. It was all my fault. And so I never got that help. I just got to the point where even after he died, I didn't know anything else to do. So I was still hoeing. I was still hooking for survival. And then I had an addiction by then because I self-medicated, because I lost that person that I was. And one day I just got on my knees and I just asked God, I said, I had went into so many treatments and I couldn't stop using. And I just said, God, if you just take this desire to use for me, I'll never look back. And I haven't till this day. And today my life is just giving back and just being that voice for the voices. I am so proud of every one of you on this panel. Like this is what brings it all together, that we don't have to suffer in silence. We have a voice. And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Did everyone speak on that? I mean, not everyone has to speak on the topic. Just, we're just going to bounce around so that we can get to some of the questions of our audience. I wanted to ask, though, something very important is, what are some of the barriers of trying to live a new lifestyle now that you are out? Like, what have been some of the barriers?
Education.
The justice system.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Felicia.
I struggle with my education, and it bothers my self-esteem because people expect me to have my GED. People expect me to do this, but I have a learning disability, and I don't use it as a crutch. But where I want to go and my passion, it says that you need this, you need that, you need that. I want to get that, but came into people where they don't have patience with my learning disability and my speaking and how I speak. And so that messes with my low self-esteem. So then I'll bottle myself up. So education is my barrier because I want to be a social worker. I want to be a whole lot of things, but my GED stops me from accomplishing that. So that's my barrier, and my barrier is my speaking. I'm going to a speech therapist. Those are my two barriers that bothers my self-esteem and makes me want to quit, but I don't quit because I'm not a quitter. And I pass.
Thank you, Felicia.
Felicia,
go ahead, Holly.
Go ahead.
There have been numerous barriers, and I thank God for the community that surrounds me and the people that believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, because I heard no so many times. So many doors were shut in my face. Jobs, education. I was told no at universities because of my background. I was told no about jobs, about places to live. Just even, and then I'm public with my story, relationships because I'm public with my story, just everything. You can't get a place to live because you have a background. You can't get a job that pays a livable wage because you have a background. And then on top of it, because I use my voice to educate others and to bring awareness and to surround other survivors, people see me on the news, people see me in documentaries, people see me on events like this, and they're all like, I don't want this to be the face of my company. So that's a barrier as well. Like, a lot of times because I'm so public, or people will be like, I don't want to date her because she's an ex-prostitute. So that's not even all the challenges. Connecting to resources is a barrier, because coming from the street without knowledge of what's available to you, like, you are in a bubble, like in this world, like you are trapped in a trap house. If for those of you that don't know what it is, like, you are in like a 5-block radius, and this is where your life is, or you're in a couple of hotels, or you're in a couple of houses, and like you're moved from spot to spot to spot, and this is what your life is. Like you're condensed into this small surrounding of people, and this is your community. And then once you're escaped, or whatever language people want to use, or you're exited from that lifestyle, and you're transplanted to this new life in society, you don't know what's available to you. There's wraparound services that are available, but the people that you're connected to half the time don't even know what's available to you. Like, I'm out here and I'm trying to connect people to services, and people are calling me to connect to services, and they're the case managers that are supposed to know that what's available, and they don't even know what's available. Half the time, I don't even know what's available. We need like round tables for social workers to be able to connect people like me to the services that are available. We need like some type of internet program that we can go to.
Some data.
All right there, man, because we need to know, because if we don't have supportive services, women like me aren't going to be able to be women like me. I mean, there's so many opportunities. Women that have been through what we've been through, we have like this intrinsic motivation to want and do better, but we have to build ourselves from the ground up. I mean, we need supportive members of society to role model for us. We need women to teach us how to be women. We need judicial officials to help us get our record expunged. We need people to show us how to interview, to how to build a resume, to how to speak correctly. We need people to connect us to education. We need people to give us an opportunity in jobs. We need people to give us an opportunity for a chance to have an apartment for the first time. I'm in tears because this shit is hard. If people in the community didn't believe in me when I didn't believe in myself, I wouldn't be able to be the woman that I am. And people like me don't get to be people like me. I see so many women struggle just to get a job for $11 an hour. And what are they going to be able to do with that? They're going to go right back out to tricking because they can make so much more doing that. Or they're going to have the $11 an hour job and still hold a sugar daddy. And what's they going to do for their life? They're going to go back to drugs and alcohol because of the worth that they don't have, because they're still holding on to this shit that keeps them stuck in this cycle of addiction. And they don't get the opportunity to feel what I feel. They don't get the opportunity to heal holistically and be a woman of empowerment. Oh man, don't let me get on a tangent and a soapbox here. I'm sorry for crying, and I'm sorry for just going off, but like, I know there's so many people out there who have a heart and compassion to help survivors. And I'm not like anybody, but there has to be a better way of us doing it. There has to be a better way of us doing it, because we need wraparound services, and we need the people in the community that are trying to do this to come together and do this as a whole, because we need everything, because we don't have nothing when we come from nothing. And it's imperative that we are connected to everything, because if somebody that's coming from the streets that has nothing and like has no education for what it's like to live in society. None. I mean, nothing. I had nothing. I didn't know what a bank account was. And you have to be taught how to clean your house. You need everything. You need to be taught everything like a child. And I'm going to stop because I'm in tears.
Oh, thank you, Holly. I just want to remind everybody, thank you, Holly. The voices do need to be heard, and I am totally in agreement with everything that you just shared. Let's try to keep our answers kind of brief so that we can get to everybody. And there's so many amazing questions that the audience have for you as well. So we just want to try to, tap on some of that. But everything that everyone has to say is so very important to me. You guys already know we can talk for days, but call me afterwards. But just, let's try to, just minimize our answers.
Barbara, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Teresa.
Just real quick, Holly, we do hear what you're saying. You're speaking for so many. And, just talking to some of you before this event, like people need, I'm going to give a shout out to any retired teachers, the boomers, like, in my generation, know how to get organized and set up GED sessions. For those who are social workers and all the nonprofits who are here, you're forgetting about a whole nother wing of education. So the education path. We got a social justice path. We're starting on a housing path. It's a long way to go. But it's a 911 call out here right now for survivors. And there are retired teachers who would love to be able to help pass the GED, which, by the way, is harder than the Ohio proficiency tests. Okay, so we're going to surround you. That's something that actually Stephanie taught me yesterday. So yeah, Holly, that's why you're here.
Yes.
We need more elected officials on this thing. Every one of my colleagues got invited, House and Senate, Republican, Democrat, and yet there are still few. But we record this, so we might just send it to them when they're.
I'm not angry, I promise.
No, but what your voice. You're the leaders. You teach us, survivor leaders, victim-centered. We can't respond. We can't say we want to help those who are victims unless we give them the path, then the stepping stone to do it. But yeah, Holly, we love you, and you spoke for like millions of people right here, right now. But for those social workers, policymakers, listen to what they're saying. We need an education path, an on-ramp to education. We need GED teachers in all over the communities, because you can't get started. And I'm working on the expungement bills so you can get a driver's license, go to school, all of that. But there is a 911 call for, GED and education. And there are retired teachers galore who need something to do and they have nothing but time. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to put that there. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Senator Fedor. Thank you. Tiana.
I was just going to share to kind of piggyback off of Holly. The biggest barrier has been everything is one size fits all. Recovery has been one size fits all. Healing has been one size fits all. Education, expungement, everything is one size fits all. And everybody's story is so different. For me, I did not go through catch court, so I do not qualify to have my record expunged. Out of 15 places I applied to, there was one HR that was willing to listen to my story and give me a chance. One. Every other door was closed on me. I'm a mom of 2 kids, so I need to work legally so I can be not in jail and provide for my family. But there isn't anything for me because my story doesn't look like yours or hers or this person's. And I just really wish that as a whole, we can work out something to where everything isn't so one size fits all, because we're all uniquely made differently. We're all individuals, and my story matters just as much as the next person's, but I don't get the same resources that other people get.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Tiana. And, last night, as me and Senator Fedor spoke last night, that was one of the things that I brought up was for those that, have not been in catch court, or those that did not get caught up in the system, but were still a product of human trafficking, should still be honored with getting their record expunged. And I do believe that that's something that Teresa Fedor in her campaign has been working on. So I do believe, and I have faith that in due time, that justice will be served in that manner. So, God bless you. I know that it's hard. I know it's a struggle. I know that it is. Because before I got my record expunged, those were some of the things that I went through. And I even had letters from Teresa Fedor, Judge Herbert, everyone wrote me letters, in my defense and in supporting me to be able to have better opportunities, for doors to be open. But that record expunged is so very important. So we continue to push that movement and just pray that, that will pass. Mr. Jerome.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just want to say that, unfortunately, and I know.
I'm sorry, something happened. Jerome?
He froze.
Okay. He froze. Okay, well, until he can get back on. Felicia, was there something you want to say?
Y'all was talking about y'all's record being expunged. I know that I don't hope that she doesn't mind, but Miss Emily Dunlap helped me in that process of getting my record expunged because I too encountered where I couldn't get a decent house. Everybody labeled me by my past, and when I went to go try to get an apartment, she looked at my record and seen 62 priors of prostitution. She's like, oh no. So that's girl and that's the bear, and I know how that feels. But Emily Dunlap, she helped me get my record expunged. And not only did she help me get my record expunged, she heard my story, and she was able to present it to the courts and say, "Hey, this was a victim." And she didn't wake up one day and say she wanted to catch 62 prices of prostitution. It helped me get a better job. It helped society see me for who I am and not for my past is, because my past doesn't define who I am. This is who I am. This is giving opportunity like you give everybody else an opportunity. So what I was trying to say, Miss Emily Dunlap, last time I spoke to her, she does help women with human trafficking to get their record expunged, because society don't need to keep on judging us by our past. You need to look at who we are and look at the struggles and look at the strength of who we are. And I pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jerome, you had got cut off, so
hopefully,
jump back on.
Hopefully I'm back now. Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to say, gosh, thank you guys so much. Senator Fedor and Senator Brown, Congressman Senator Brown have just been phenomenal in recognizing survivor voices. One of the things that we found incredibly effective is what we call healthy relationships training in public schools. Because what we do is we go into public schools, and when you show kids what a normal, healthy life is supposed to be like, we get so many people disclosing, that they're going through abuse or trafficking, and this is on a global scale. So you've really got to go and educate kids, unfortunately, about what it means to be loved, respected, and cared for. And that has been a real game changer. Also, again, talking about services, when someone comes in a human trafficking case, we're going to make sure that we take care of them longitudinally, that there are services there for them and for their kids if they have kids. And we take care of them all through that process with counseling, job training, because anybody who's coming out of, being trafficked, would love the chance to earn a good living and learn a trade or learn a skill. So we've got to be more supportive in the long run, because one of the things that we all as survivors here know, when you stand with a victim who's just come out of being trafficked, and they don't know how to make a choice between, do I want a hamburger or a hot dog? Because their choices have been made for them. This entire time they're being trafficked. They don't understand how to make these decisions. Also, as has been said, when you're being trafficked, you don't understand you're being trafficked. This, for so many of us, it's just part of our normal. When you go from an environment like I did, where I was molested as a child, there was drug abuse, domestic violence. So it's a continuum. I had no idea I was being trafficked. So we have to do more events like this to raise awareness and let victims and survivors know what's happening to them. Because I will tell you, I've had so many people. I had a 76-year-old woman in Baltimore at a Shared Hope conference come to me for the first time and say, until I heard you speak, I did not realize I had been trafficked. We are taught to minimize our pain, minimize our stories. We cannot allow that to happen. We've got to be a voice. We got to let victims, blossom like Holly and others here today, and be what God intended them to be, a voice for the voiceless. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Harold, and then we're going to start taking some questions from our audience. And what I asked, when we start taking those questions, maybe if two people can touch on a question, that way we can get a lot of the questions answered. Thank you. Go ahead, Harold.
Yeah, Barbara, the top 3 barriers for me or for survivors is, number 1 is stigma, number 2 is shame, and number 3 is salary. Many times survivors are educated, but the stigma that they're a survivor puts them down. They do not get the opportunities. In the community, they do not look at their talent. They do not look at their wisdom. That's one. And shame, because people think it's a shame, but no one becomes a victim of labor trafficking or sex trafficking out of choice. Everyone makes a mistake. And last but not the least, I would say, is the salary. When I say salary, is compensation. Everyone will call a victim of sex trafficking or labor trafficking to come and talk. The person who's inviting is getting paid, is on a salary. but they want the victim to just come and talk and share the story, thinking that the victim is not a wife, is not a mother, is not a daughter, or is not a father, is not a son, or not a husband, and he or she does not have to pay bills. They just want to listen to the story. But this has to come from the top. How can a survivor always come and beg? It becomes so cheap that even if you ask for compensation, they feel that they number one, they'll not pay. Number two, they think that we are beggars. Like they always say, beggars cannot be choosers. So we are not beggars. This has to be implemented from the top to all the institutions, that whenever you call a survivor to come and share their journey, please ensure that even if they do not ask, that you compensate them equally, not like as any professional, because what they are sharing cannot be found at Harvard or Stanford or anywhere, any university in the world. So always tell, failure is the path to success. Every survivor speaks volumes. That means he or she has battled so much talents that she or he cannot come out. So that itself speaks volumes. Like in India, there is a saying, the national bird of India is peacock. So if you go to a museum, if you go to a gallery, you go anywhere to anybody's house, you see they just put the peacock. They don't write below it's a peacock. Everyone knows it's a peacock. So when you see a survivor, there is no explanation needed that he or she is talented. He or she has the experience and expertise. She has not to justify, or he has not to justify. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harold. One of the questions that's posed from the audience is, how do you practice self-care? If two people can just touch on that, please.
So I that's my whole soapbox on self-care. And the number one thing is you cannot pour from a healthy cup unless you know how to dump your own stuff, and life shows up. And this is just a whole nother part of, the challenges of being a survivor, and getting to a place where, you are being successful and doing the work that we do, working with other women. I put my heart on my sleeve a lot, and I share my story through different ways of connecting with everybody in general, even organizations. But I still have to do trauma counseling. And I speak this, throughout, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a fireman, whether you're a policeman, of any, successful, whatever you pick to do with your life. But you have to be able to dump, your life's mess in order to be able to be healthy, to help somebody else. And so, mine, meetings and sponsorship and having that family and being able to, you got to connect what got me healed in the beginning. It doesn't change. It's like, no matter how high you get up here, you still have to do what works in the beginning that kept us surviving, and plateauing to different levels of our life. And so even with me being almost 9 years out of the life, I still have to take care of me. I still have to do counseling. I still have to do meditation. I still have to journal. I still have to, do personal inventory of, where am I at, and what place am I coming from, as I'm reaching another human being, and to make sure that it's a healthy place. And I just, self-care is so mandatory, whether it's a hike, whether it's trauma counseling, whether it's EMDR, whether it's getting your nails done, pampering yourself, loving yourself, because at one point in time in my life, there was no EMDR, the asphalt of the sidewalk was nothing but road rash for a lot of years. So once you get to the place of self-love and self-care, then everything else falls in place. You've got to love yourself first in order to be able to teach people how you want to be loved. And so it is an inside job. And until you are able to do that, then how are you supposed to teach it?
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Someone got their hand up. Harold, is there something you wanted to state on this?
No, it was from before the hand up. But anyway, I just would like to share that, every individual should look, listen, learn, live, love, and laugh with survivors. And survivors, like this event, what you are doing right now, Senator Teresa Fedor, like, it's very therapeutic for all the survivors. I still go for counseling, and I always decided in my mind to be happy, and that does not come overnight. So it's a process. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. What are some of the ways that mental health system can help improve in helping survivors? Tiana?
Tiana? Okay. Go ahead. I was just going to share. I know that through Grace Haven, they have like education of Johns that have been picked up trafficking the girls. I don't know if they have the same thing for mental health workers or nurses. And I just think teaching them awareness, teaching them the signs to look for is super duper important. Because in my own story, there was somebody that could have intervened and they didn't know the signs. And I got sent from the hospital back with my trafficker. So I think just making sure our mental health workers are taught like what is abnormal, what is normal, and they are linked with the judicial system, and the officers in the different counties can be a link in the chain that needs to be strengthened.
Thank you, Tiana. Haley?
I would say including trauma has a consistent component when like assessing and diagnosing and treating patients and clients, because I think that's something that's lacking right now. I think a lot of survivors are misdiagnosed because trauma symptoms and mental health symptoms kind of mirror each other. And then they're being treated based on those misdiagnoses, and they're not receiving the trauma counseling they need, and they're not receiving the services they need. And I see this all the time. I've experienced it myself, but I've also seen it in my job as a social worker working with kids in child welfare, where, they have a list of 7 diagnoses that are all clearly trauma related, but not one of those diagnoses is a trauma diagnosis, and they're not receiving trauma treatment. So I think including that in assessment and diagnosis and treatment and practicing trauma-informed care.
Okay, thank you. Holly, you wanted to touch on something?
Haley said it way better than I could have ever. Trauma-informed care, assessing and diagnosing correctly, because children and young adults and survivors coming out are constantly misdiagnosed, and they'll have a list of diagnoses, and it's obviously just complex PTSD. And then I would also say, know what's offered in your community so that you can connect to wraparound resources.
Right.
You are the impetus for change for the people that you're serving. You may be the only point of intervention that this person has.
Okay. Thank you. I see a lot of questions on here where people are asking, once, and Holly, a lot of questions are opposed to you, or anyone that is out, because anybody can save a survivor. You don't have to be a CEO. You don't have to be, if you put in that position to help someone, and I'm going to say this, a lot of survivors that have come out of the life, and not to get spiritual up in here, but I am, God put you in position to be able to pull others out of the muck one by one. So the question is opposed to when coming in contact with someone that need to be rescued from human trafficking, what are some of the options to be able to get them to safety? Like, I know that there's a lot of barriers, know where to go, and things of that matter. But where can they find resources to help them once they do get a survivor in their care?
Are you asking me, or I just raised my hand?
I'm gonna start with you, Haley.
I know that there's Grace Haven for kids. There's Oasis House in Dayton. There's a lot of shelters in Columbus that you can take human trafficking survivors to. I think She Has a Name has shelters, and you can use the Ohio Human Trafficking website has different resources on it. The Ohio Human Trafficking Hotline can connect you to resources. So it's just knowing who to call and knowing the resources to look at.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Holly.
I think there's a lot of pertinent, I just realized that that's not even a word, pertinent questions that need to be asked prior to, there's power in language. You never rescue anybody, first and foremost. If there's somebody that's disclosing to you that they're in a situation that they need to be exited from, I think you have to ask the pertinent questions. And those questions be, do you struggle with a substance use addiction? Do you need detox? Do you need a little bit of education on your substance disorder first and foremost? And then it would be connecting them to treatment to get them a little bit of clarity and some distance away from the drug abuse addiction. And then once they've got that, there's places in Cincinnati, I forget the name of the house, I have the card somewhere, but there's a safe house that provides transitional in Cincinnati. There's Oasis House in Dayton. There's Out of the Darkness local here in the Central Ohio area. There's Barb Freeman's house. Let's not forget about that one. I'm biased, but I think that's one of the best ones. I've seen so many success stories come out of there. There's my house here in Columbus. I'm sure there's some up in the Toledo and Cleveland area that I haven't been, that's not my area of expertise, but you could always call the anti-human trafficking hotline. And I'm sure somebody like Stephanie that manages that hotline will connect you to somebody immediately. But there's a few right there. But first and foremost, is there an immediate need for a hospital? Is there an immediate need for substance use dependency to get some clarity there? Because none of these places that I just mentioned that's going to take a trafficking survivor or victim is going to be able to provide the needs that they have if they're struggling with substance use disorder, because that's more medically managed. So it might be hospital care, it might be substance use treatment, they might need mental health treatment, they might need stabilization first and foremost. Again, it's these wraparound services. It takes a village in the beginning. And then once they're in these places, there's a lot of wraparound services that they're going to need once they're there.
Thank you. Harold?
Yeah, for foreign national victims, in the case of human labor trafficking, the resources is the CP, the continued presence status, the U visa or the T visa, and eventually the permanent residency card. So these resources are available. And on this platform, I would just like to share with all the delegates the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. That's 1-888-373-7888. And the Greater Cincinnati hotline number is 513-800-1863. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. And I would like to know what are some of the things that you can tell someone that's being trafficked about getting out? A lot of them have fear in calling CPD, fear of the trafficker harming them. So what was useful to you coming out of human trafficking? What can you tell someone that needs to get out?
Run. Run. I mean, that's what I did. I ran.
Amen.
Run. If you get out, run. Run and scream. Somebody will hear you. I'm not all educated like everybody else and got cards and numbers, but I had one car in my bra. And when I ran and I screamed down the street, they came and got me ASAP. Run, scream, do whatever you need to do. Just run. Somebody will hear you. Predators don't like to be exposed. So when you scream, they will hide. They will get under their rock. Scream, run, do whatever you do. Fight. If you have a chance to get away, fight. This is your chance to fight. I'm just keeping it real. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiana?
One of my favorite things that I told my most recent mentee at Grace Haven was to exist loudly. She had to endure abuse in silence. Everything was a secret for so long. She lost her voice. And I'm like, exist loudly. You owe it to yourself. You're worth it. Exist out loud, however loud it needs to be. Just heal.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Holly?
I want to say to Felicia, don't do that again. Don't say that you might not have the education that anybody else sitting on this panel has, because you got more education than probably most of us. You've been out there, you have the same lived experience as us, and you might be the impetus for change for many more women than we could ever be. So don't do that to yourself again. It's not a title, it's not a GED, and it's not any number or letter that you could put after your name. You got it, girl. You doing your thing. I don't want you to downplay or dumb it down. You're a rock star. Don't do it again, okay? I don't want to hear it. But besides that, I would say it. Well, I don't want to say. For me, I would listen and hold a space for them, and listen to a little bit of what they have to say, because they don't get that. You don't get that in the environment that you're in. And then consistency. And one of the things that I always say to them, that you're worth it. And I know that change is scary. And I always say, you have this life that you're familiar with. I wouldn't call it comfortable, although that's what we call it, like you're comfortable in it, even though it's miserable, but you're familiar with this life that you have right here in this hand. But you have this life that you don't know that could be so much more, the potential that you could have and that you could be. And like, you have an opportunity for change at this moment. And I try to get them to like see where they could be and give them a chance to have self-determination, like a little bit of motivational interviewing. And I try to like not force it, but let them empower the decision to make the change and jump in the car with me and go to treatment if that's what they need, or move into the house. But I hold space for them, and I do more questions than like say anything at all. But I give them an opportunity to see this life that they've been living where they're miserable and they pray for death every day, or this opportunity for a brand new life that they get to create their own story.
Thank you, Joelle.
I do outreach 4 out of 7 nights a week. And so it is building a rapport, but I always let them know they're not alone. You know, I'll give them my card, but it is consistency, and they see you and you show up and they know that you're there. Because one thing I can say, being a survivor and being in a situation, being able for another person to know that they know exactly what you're going through, that they've been there, but they've overcame. So they know, and the trust comes a little easier. But the biggest thing, I pray with them. But I let them know that, you know what, there is life after trafficking. There is life other than these streets. That even if you're trying to run from a trafficker, that there is a safe house in Rhode Island. But we just started a nonprofit called Together with Love. It's a faith-based organization for human trafficking survivors and victims. And we just started implementing that. If we got into a situation, which we never had before, where if someone wants to get out right then and there, we could get them to a hotel and pay for it. Because my biggest barrier in Rhode Island is the justice system, and we have nowhere to put these girls. In the last couple of months, it's been crazy. I'll run into someone and they are ready to exit. So now I have to wait to see if there's a bed or a place or somewhere we can put them. And then they got to go through intake. And in that time, anything could happen. So things are changing and getting better. But my whole thing is letting them know they're not alone and that it has to be their decision, that they are worthy and they have a choice. And to let them know I am there 24/7. I have a phone. You can call any time of day and night. That's my input.
Thank you. Jerome?
Yes, thank you. Small victories win the battle. So it's all about these small confidence building techniques, like having a bank account, having an apartment, making decisions in their life. So you want to slowly help them build that confidence and that self-worth, finding a job, finding a skill. Again, like it's been echoed here, it's all about consistency. When I talk to foster parents who are going to have a young victim of trafficking come to their house, I tell them most important thing, number one, unconditional love, but the other one is don't give up on them like they've been taught to give up on themselves. Be consistent, be there with them the whole time. Because for many of us who are survivors or victims, people have abandoned us. They have just let us, drift in the wind. So be consistent, make small victories, build that confidence slowly. And when we're talking about job placement, find an appropriate job for a survivor that's not going to be triggering. So consider that trauma when you're doing placement. Make sure that you help them, you lift them up, because that's the best workout in the world, is lifting people up, but help them find, that value inside them and that love for themselves with everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Harold?
Yeah, Barbara, it is like for victims or survivors, it is like seeing is believing. So what Senator Fedor has done is 13th annual Human Trafficking Summit. So when victims and survivors see this platform where survivors, even a brown-skinned guy, is with all the white delegates, I'm talking for foreign nationals, because when I talk to the Mexicans, they are so scared. But when they see me with a white lady or a white guy, so they're touched. And they say, oh, I said, yeah, you can do it. So it's just like in the mindset, they think that I cannot make it happen. So always believe in practicing. So what you are doing right now is a perfect thing, like inviting survivors, engaging them to talk. Like we have Jerome, we have Holly, we have Barbara, you and everyone sharing their journey. And there are so many victims and survivors watching. And they will be so empowered after this show. They said, come on, I can do this. I can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a few more minutes. So I want you guys just to briefly just talk about what you're doing today. Seeing that, you have been brought out of the life. What are you doing today to impact others, to inspire others? I know you mentioned it a little bit before, but just to close it up, just to give some people some inspiration, because a lot of people are asking, how do they start, how do they open houses, Holly? How do they advocate for a survivor? Because we need that, I can tell you that in the work that we do, there is not enough housing for survivors. I'm calling Holly calling me, like we're calling somewhere else, so how can people get started? How can you inspire people to get started to help save a survivor? So can you share with us what you're doing today and how they can impact someone to get started?
Real quick, before I'll touch on the housing. It's chaotic,
real brief,
and hard.
Okay.
I connect anywhere from 5 to 20 people to substance abuse treatment on a weekly basis. That's one way I'm impacting lives. I absolutely adore it. I love it. I love being an impetus for change for people. I have no boundaries, though. That's a big deal for me. Like, I answer my phone at 7 a.m. and 3 a.m., 2 p.m. I don't have a cutoff time. I work around the clock, unless I'm on vacation. Besides the point, housing. I found a lot of barriers in opening my housing. I didn't have funding. I didn't have investors. Nobody believed in me. I had nothing to start. So I took a home loan out in my name. Can I say this on a live summit that everybody's viewing? I did an FHA loan and said I was going to live there. And then I put survivors and people that struggle with substance use disorder in that home. And that one house grew to 2, and then to 3, and to 5. And I've created a little safe space for a lot of people. Actually, just took one of the girls that had a little issue, had a little lapse, and got her into treatment. She is one of us, and she just spent the night in my house until she could get into treatment. And those are the things that fill me up, to watch somebody get that light back in their life, to realize, like, I wasn't changing behaviors. These are the things that I need to change. And she, to hear this summit, and she was in tears. You know, I'm going to shut up now, but
Thank you.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Holly. Harold?
Yeah, I'm focused on two things. Number one is to start a male shelter home in Ohio. And this male shelter home will be in for the Americans, and especially for foreign nationals who do not have any documentations or no passports, but are victims of labor trafficking and debt bondage. And number two, I'm working out to start a freedom survey. I have like more than 200 applicants for labor trafficking victims for expungement for their felonies, where they were forced to do a crime by the traffickers. And I'm working on that project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have some suggestions?
Yes, I go out. I also work for Jasmine, and she's a survivor. She's a pastor now. She wrote the book, The Diary of Jasmine Grace, and she's up in New Hampshire. So we connect because I worked for the New England Coalition Against Human Trafficking with her. So she has these bags of hope that we make up, and they have anything and everything you could possibly think of someone would need. A young lady, or we really, I gotta say, we should stop, but we just deal with the female population at the moment. And we make up these bags and we put scriptures in them, and I give them my cards, and I go out in the streets and I give those out. And I'm like, Holly, I'm just like you. If I can't get a girl in a place, she's coming home with me. Well, I got her and she's ready. Right. And I know ethically we're really, you know, there's a lot of laws and stuff around that, but that's just who I am too. And as a survivor, we will go that extra mile. We will take the chance of going to jail. If we can get that person that's ready to get out of that life, like I'm getting chills right now because I have. And I watched the young lady blossom. Like she is today, she is in the highest position. She got her kids back. Like, and I know if I would have let her go while she had to wait for somewhere to get in, I would have lost her. Yeah. So, you know, it's each one teach one. And that's what we do as Survivor Sisters.
Thank you. Mr. Jerome?
Yes, thank you. I mean, have a conversation about human trafficking with your friends, your neighbors, in your churches, temples, wherever, because one of the things that we struggle with, again, as was mentioned previously, is the perception that it doesn't happen in this country. We need to shatter that stereotype and make sure that every survivor and victim here today is represented, accurately, and that people understand it's happening, in their neighborhoods, in their communities, and that they can take action by just learning the signs of someone who's being trafficked and calling the hotline. Talk to your congressman, Senator Fedor, Congressman Brown, back legislation that offers services for victims of human trafficking. Make your voice heard. Volunteer, write an op-ed, just get involved and do what you can at your level of comfort, because one voice can make a difference, but our voices together can make change.
Thank you so much, Harold. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Mr. Jerome. Thank you. One thing that I wanted to touch on, and I know I don't just speak for myself on this, and I know that I'm the moderator, but I do have to speak on this because
in the cupboard. Look where the dishes are. Where the dish.
I know that we are out rolling up our sleeves, doing the same thing, and we're survivors. And I think sometimes that we are overlooked when we need funding or when we need that support to be able to continue to do what it is that we're doing. And I think that there need to be more support. And I think that the voices need to be heard, because I know that I put in grants so many times, and my house has been open for 4 years. and I received one grant in the beginning. And I know that I'm not just speaking for myself, but the support is not there. We're looked past, and we survivors, like we out here, like we know where to go, we know what to do. You know, we the one that connect them to help them to get the predators and, you know, those that, so we need backed up in what we're doing so that we can open more houses. And I'm gonna speak like all the abandos and things that, you know, are out here. We need those to start being rehab so that we can save more lives, because there are not enough doors opened up for when we do save the survivors. We don't have anywhere to take them. So if we're doing the work, back us up. Like, we need that help. We need that support. Miss Haley?
Kind of going off of what you're saying, you know, like we are experts, maybe not based on education and stuff like that, but we're experts because of lived experience. And I feel like there's no better knowledge than in listening to our ideas and listening to our voices, and implementing those things and supporting us through that.
Thank you, Haley.
I feel a lot around on the same thing. Is we need more peer support. We need more lived experience. We need the peer support in every aspect of, whether it's the ERs, the hospitals, you know, the counseling, you know, and every, you know, the lived experience is paving the way to everywhere that we need to go. Having that support is so crucial, because we can only get to a certain amount of being successful, and then the roadblocks come. And then if we don't have that support that's going to pave it away for us, then we become stagnant, you know. So we need to have, you know, the resources out there. Holly, just like you said, that table, we need that table. We need them grants. We need access to be able to further what we're trying to do as far as saving a whole kinds of millions of lives at this point, because millions of lives are not making it right now. Especially with the COVID, that's put the red tape on so many different things. Felicia, GED, honey, you're not alone. I'm right here with you on this. I have not got mine yet neither. But let me just tell you something, that you can never give up, and you got to keep going, but you got to be around a positive support that's going to give you the ammunition to keep going. You have a team that's going to take you by the hand and say, it's okay. Miss Fedor right now is preparing us a table for that GED. Honey, it's coming. But look how far you've come, and look where we're now without one, because somebody very, very special to me turned around and said, Stephanie, you know, the paper might, you know, through schools, we have a master's degree of experience. Never minimize that, my love, never. And so, you know, I think our biggest thing right now is that we do need that support paved away through legislation, through the powerful ones that can make that happen, because we can only go so far, even with the housing and the sober housing. I mean, we're sitting right here. This is a powerhouse right here, but we are only allowed to go so far. And then we have these stumbling blocks that get in our way. What do we do? How do we get there? You know, we can tell you how far we've come. You know, I mean, the peer support is crucial. Doing the groups, seeking safety, Grace Haven, you know, everybody in this powerhouse right here is doing their part. But there's stumbling blocks, and only the Senate can do that. only there's certain powerful people that can make things happen when they sign them legislators. And we need to make that happen to be able to further our success.
Thank you, Stephanie. Ms. Fedor?
You know, there are so many people around the United States right now, and I know even in India, because I was paying attention to where people were signed up, and we have almost 900 people signed up for this Awareness Day. And so congratulations, your voice, you have set the table yourselves, you know, providing the on-ramps for those voices to be amplified. You do have a master's degree in living experience. So what is imagine, and let's reimagine what government should be doing in this space, in the streets, because you've got all your, you know, official, educated, you know, all the letters behind the name thing. I'm not impressed by them, because you wouldn't be here if all that worked. If all of our tax dollars worked to try to affect lowering poverty and the vulnerability of someone being a victim of modern day slavery. So you are the solution, need to be honored. And we can come up, if we Rachel Lloyd termed the word human trafficking. Until that time, it wasn't there. And look what we've done in the last 20 years. And look what we've done in just 13. Some of you have been with me for 13 years. I've been in this space 27 years. So I've been indicting the system. We've indicted the system here today with you, because you've identified what's not there for you, and the new developments we hear constantly. There were 100 beds when I started 17 years ago. There isn't much more. You know, I hear Grace Haven a lot. God bless them and all those, but they only facilitate, you know, a handful, right, at a time. So we've got to build those on-ramps to get those services and support the work that you're doing, because you're the solution to it. You reach them. You can go into that neighborhood, into those classrooms, talk to them. And if you're not in a classroom and you have a barrier with that, you call me, because I'm on the education committee in the state of Ohio. I'm the ranking Democrat. All right. You know, we need to build. You're the leader, and you've got other leaders with me who are hosting this space and want to learn more. So, you know, I really have heard the one size doesn't fit all. Tiana, that's valuable. You're the golden nuggets, and this is going to be recorded. It is recorded, and it's going to DC. I know people want the judges to see it, all these other people. So you are, you know, the pioneers for this change. And it doesn't matter whether you have a degree or not. It's your lived experience that's going to teach us, and we honor that. And we just want to be sure that we stay connected and learn more. So, you know, contact any of us legislators. We continue to work with us. You know, that expungement bill, if we don't break that dam, then they don't mean what they say. Okay? Because you can't get a driver's license, you can move forward. And don't let them throw all this money for these people who want to all of a sudden, you know, have housing and, health care. And they see all the money the federal government's going to give. If we can't even get the records expunged, a driver's license, health care, housing, you know, hold them accountable, because they need to listen to you. You are the solution, and very important for government working for you, because you are an American citizen. You pay taxes. So anyway, you know, keep all that in mind. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're going to work hard on the K-12 education. You know, Ohio's the only state in the nation that doesn't have healthcare standards. You know, there are pieces of government not working, that the pieces we need to protect and prevent this from happening, and for you to get in and not only get one behind you, but let's get 20 at a time. Barbara, Holly, Teresa, Flores, Stephanie, pull them up faster. And so, you know, you hold us to count and measure how well we're doing. And Haley, thank you for working on the inside, and immediately she knows right where to fill those gaps and fill those holes to help people who are being trafficked. So all of you comprehensively are the most powerful group we have in this country to correct the course, so that someone born today doesn't have to deal with what you did. and that it works for them. So anyway, thank you for even giving me this space. Self-care, hugs. You're going to feel the hugs from Ohio and around the United States who love you and want to learn from you, honor you, and thank God we love you, and he does too. So thank you, Barbara, for that opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, you guys, it's 11 o'clock, and I just want to thank everyone for sharing today. Thank you for your most impactful, inspiring stories. I pray that someone got something out of your story today, something that you said today that they were carrying on with them, passing along. To see something is to say something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and God